Listen for a moment and you will notice how quiet it is where I'm currently parked up. It's great. You can maybe hear Bumble smacking away as he's licking his paws, and you might be able to hear the wind blowing, but that's about it. So I spent a whole day somewhere where there wasn't background noise and there weren't any cars going by. It was really peaceful, and it's surprising how much having a break from noise or certain types of noise can make the brain feel better. And then there's the noise that I introduce into my life on a daily basis, which is tuning forks. Have you heard of tuning forks? So tuning forks, as you know, were created in they have them in the solfeggio tones, which were created back in Victorian times. I'm not going to give you any dates. If you want facts and figures, go on to the Suara Sound Academy. Debbie Walker has provided lots of information with facts around when people discovered the dates. If that's important to you, that's where I'd suggest you go and look. So I'm not going to be talking about dates. I'm going to be talking about how it can help you. So we have a set that Debbie created called the Clear, Cleanse and Balance, and I do that on a daily basis. And sometimes I can wake up and feel quite groggy, and I hit the om, and it's like it turns the volume down inside my head. Initially, it's got a calming effect, and then strangely what will happen is I'll start to get ideas, and this is because I've allowed my brain to become in a relaxed state. Now, I have been doing the forks in the mornings since October 2024, so we're on just over a year, which is quite impressive for me to keep going with something. So I've sort of made it a habit now. And there have been some days where I don't use the forks first thing in the morning. If I'm racing to get to an early appointment, then I have to feed Bumble and take Bumble for a walk, so I might not do the forks, but they're just as good to do them later on. And a friend of mine, she does her forks after she finishes work, which might be in the afternoon. So it doesn't matter what time of day you do your forks, because it's about giving your body the opportunity to be calm and slow down, and it allows the brain to reach an equilibrium. On a deeper note, there is evidence that using the CCB or to listen to the Triple Om, which is a free download on Debbie's website, it will help you sleep because of the calming effect it has on the nervous system. And they're currently running a trial. So if you're interested in joining in, it's a Tuning for Health or Tuning for Better Health, but they run via the website, and it's done at a distance, so you can do it. You can join via Zoom, and they provide a free download to the Triple Om. that you can listen to for half an hour every day and see if it makes a difference, because there's nothing to lose. You're not losing any money by using a free download. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? Do any of you listeners, 1, 2, maybe 3 of you, use sound as a calming everyday routine? And what is the importance of having a daily routine? One of the things I noticed when I was observing retreats was how important ritual is to human beings, and to help them look inside themselves and create a sense of knowing. Ritual is a brilliant way of helping you create the atmosphere to set the scene, so to speak. So what is your ritual in the morning? My ritual, as many of you will probably have, is to race to the toilet. And when you're on a campsite, the toilet is sometimes the other end of the field. So it's not a quick dash, it's a pretty long dash. And obviously there's a four-legged fiend called Bumble who needs to be given his opportunity to ease springs as well. Then I light my candle and I have gratitude for a safe night's sleep. And depending on where I am and how I've set things up, if I've been travelling and I've seen any fallen beings on my route, I will light my crossing candle, which is to help with a safe crossing of any souls that I've encountered. And I do, so those 2 candles will be lit in the morning. Then I make my coffee and I sit down and I start to do my thoughts. And that creates a calming start to my day. Oh, the other thing that I do, and I'm sure some of you do this as well, is I take my supplements like vitamin D, because we've got those awful grey skies at the moment. And I also do a coconut oil mouthwash. It's not a mouthwash, it's a swill of coconut oil. And it's really good for gum health. And it was recommended to me by someone who was in Ayurvedic practice. And so I do that on a daily basis too. But it's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes we can think we're in a really fixed routine and have the things that we feel are part of our daily ritual, and then something will happen to stop us from doing it. And it can throw us a curveball, so to speak, and we will get out of our system. And I guess one of the things that I always thought was part of my routine was going for a long walk with Bumble, but actually it isn't, because if it's absolutely pouring down the rain, I don't want to go for a long walk. I don't want to get wet. Although yesterday we did go for a wander, and once I was out wandering, it's almost like there was a, come on, keep on going. So we walked up the hill, and it was like a river running down the street. And then we did turn around and went to the river at the bottom of the hill, because I'd spotted this on my way into the campsite, and I thought, I've got to go and check that out. And I'm glad I did, because there were so many alder trees that were edging the river, and the river was brown, so it's pulling all the earth off the recently ploughed fields, which is not a good thing. And I'm just hoping that there weren't loads of pesticides and chemicals in that water as it was rushing past. The ground down there was pretty soggy too. I noticed that there was marsh grass, which means it naturally gets soggy in the field we walked through as well. It said there was a public footpath, but you could only get so far along it. And somebody had dumped all their building stuff further along the public footpath because it was in a field. So they'd sort of paid to be able to get anywhere, and then the rest of it was a huge puddle because the water levels were so high. So tell me, what do you do as part of your morning routine? Are you looking at the sun coming up in the mornings, or do you stay in bed a little bit longer? I know that I certainly found getting up early, despite the fact that we had the clocks go back, I thought I would, manage to get up at 6 in the morning. I'd been away, time was on my side. But I think the darkness at 6 just makes me go, I don't want to be up. What I did get was a light box, and then I promptly forgot it. I've left it at my parents', and I'm not going to be going anywhere near them for a couple of weeks because I've got other things to be doing. And so the light box, if you use it starting from about 10 minutes every day, is to give your eyes the opportunity to absorb light and to help with seasonal affective disorder. But it's interesting how different human beings have different deficiencies at this time of year. I have found using vitamin D3, and I do take a slightly higher supplement of vitamin D, and I'm finding the 3000 has been particularly beneficial with all the grey skies that we've been having and the dark mornings. What do you do to help yourself in the morning? Do you have a food routine? Do you change the breakfast that you eat in winter? Or do you take supplements? Do you have a light box? Or do you have one of those Lumi alarms? I had a Lumi alarm when I was living in a house, and I have to say it really did help me get up early in the morning, and I wasn't given that shock of alarm because the alarm light slowly lit the room up and it felt like it was time to get up. And being in the van, I'm trying to keep the van warm, so I've got blankets over the windows, but that means it shuts the light out. So if there is any light out there, or if the sun's coming up, it's not getting in the back where I'm sleeping, which means I'm not getting the light nudge that is beneficial. And I always used to sleep in a bedroom where the sunlight could come in because it faced the east, and it woke me up on a normal day. And living by the coast, it always seemed to be that it was brighter there than it would be inland. I'm sure that there's no actual data to support that notion, but my experiences of living on the coast, where it often used to be clear skies in the evening, like the wind had blown all the bad weather inland. So I'd take my children for a walk after I got home from work, and it would be clear skies, which is absolutely beautiful. And I really enjoyed having the sun coming into my bedroom, especially after I've been on several times of being overseas with my job, and the rooms were quite dark, and where I was sleeping didn't get any light in it, and I realised how much I struggled with not waking up in a light room. I don't know, does anybody feel they have to sleep in a really dark room, or do you also like to work with the sunlight and have the sun wake you up in the morning? I'm not quite sure why my brain feels so much more at comfort with having that dependency on the sun. And when I've lived in warm, sunny places, I really do feel so much happier in myself and being able to be outside a lot of the time. But then I love the country I was born in. I love Cornwall. I love being on the granite. And so I guess we learn to live with the rain, don't we? You'd think I would have learned to live with the rain, but I'm 60 years old and living in a van, and then you think to yourself, oh, so another soggy day. Why am I doing this to myself? And finding alternative ways of not getting soggier, because it's actually quite difficult to dry things out if they get really wet. So I did invest in a dry robe, and at least that doesn't absorb all the rain and carry it into the van, making it difficult to get it dry. So it's a thing, isn't it? And somehow I've managed to go round from the idea of ritual and talking about sound to talking about soggy dry robes. And that's just shows you the rabbit holy brain that I've got transmitting from here. Bizarre. Anyway, tell me in the comments, or you can always email me if you have any rituals that you do in the morning that you find beneficial, whether it's the sunrise and you always get up with the sunrise, so you find that your rising time changes as the year goes round, or do you have a teas made? Do you remember teas maids? Do you have one of those? Do you have a nice cup of tea, or do you have a lovely person who makes you a cup of tea or coffee in the morning? Just one anecdote. My son, when he was about 6, I remember him bringing me a cup of coffee in bed, and he said, "Mummy, I brought you a cup of coffee so that you'll get up," because he realised that once I'd had coffee, I was more functional than I was before, and he wanted me to get up quite early so he could go on his game, like a PlayStation that he had. And it's surprising what people will do for others in the morning and what they're motivated by. And I'm quite impressed that he observed and learnt how to make a cup of coffee when he was so young, but it meant it met his objectives. So something to learn there. If any of you are thinking about coaching, what is it? What are the motivators? Because if somebody really wants to do something, they will do it, won't they? That's what it suggests. Do you agree with that statement or not? I would be interested to know. And I'm going to sign out now. I'm watching the birch leaves bobbing away in the breeze. Have a marvellous, magical day. Blessed be. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Cauldron of Curiosities. If you enjoyed this dip into folklore, don't forget to follow the podcast, share it with a friend, and keep your lantern handy for the next curious tale.